What's up guys, DuArktik with another Marvel Strike Force video, and in this video we are back to talk about the new Avengers. We have the Green Goblin trials coming up very soon, so we're going to recap the T4s, the ISO-8 position that you should be using in order to prepare for these Green Goblin trials. The new Avengers together with Rebirth are some of the essential teams that you need to use to unlock the new Green Goblin Classic, the legendary Green Goblin. So it's going to be important that you are investing the right amount in order for this team to work properly if you are trying to do something above difficulty 8, right? This is going to allow you not only to unlock Green Goblin day 1 at 4 yellow stars, but on top of that you're also going to get some additional goodies like Gear Tier 18 and maybe even the Awaken abilities. We don't know for sure, but at some point in time it will be the case, whether it is with 1.5 million points or whether it is with 1.9 million points. So it's going to be important to have the right investment on this team in order for them to work properly. So we're going to recap all of that information, T4s, ISO-8 position and so on. And as always, if you like the information on these videos, make sure you share it to your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe for more Marvel Strike Force content and make sure you smash that like button like a boss. Okay, so this information is always available on my Discord. The link is in the description. And with my infographics, you can have the information for the T4s. If they are yellow or red, that means yellow is all game modes. If they are red, it's for Alliance Wars. Then we have the different options of ISO-8 depending on how you are using the characters or how big they are. The gold promotion credits, this has been updated as well for these Green Goblin trials, the position of the team and the game modes where they're going to be useful. Okay, so let's do a quick recap on this team. And we're gonna start off with Tigra. Tigra, she's like the boss of the team. She is the protector, but on top of that, she also does a lot of bleeds. And because of that, because she does so many bleeds, it's going to be nice. It's going to be nice for you to have most of her abilities at the highest level possible, so those bleeds have additional bleed multiplier. If you don't know, depending on the level of the ability, so for example the ultimate ability, if you have the ultimate ability at level 6, the bleeds will do 120% of the character's base damage. If the ability is at level 7, then you are going to do 155% of the character's base damage. So the higher the ability is for bleeds, the better. So with this in mind, let's take a look at all T4s, and we're going to start off with the passive. The passive is a T4 that I don't think is going to be important for the Green Goblin trials. We can reduce the resistance of the enemies, and for sure this is good for you if your characters are very low. So this might be a good T4 that allows you to switch the ISO-8s around, so instead of having so many skirmishers or so many strikers, you can use some raiders instead. And it also allows you to save some gear, right? Because if the enemies have less resistance, that means you need less focus. So the passive for Tigra is not a priority for, but you can do this T4 if you're having some problems with focus. With the ultimate T4 in Alliance Wars, you are going to apply Trauma, and on the Green Goblin trials, you can activate the war effects. So this is going to be important as well. Clear immunity, always welcome, and attack all enemies for additional 50% damage to a maximum of 500. Like I said, it's not super important in that regard, but it will be important because you are applying tons of bleeds to your enemies. Then we have the special. In war gains safeguard for Tigra. This means that the positive effects that she obtains will not be removed unless you are facing Apocalypse, of course. And she's going to do more piercing damage to the primary target and secondary targets. Once again, she applies bleeds, and because this is a rebound chain, these bleeds are really going to be painful. And on top of that, she does piercing damage, so this is even more value on the T4 when it comes to damage output. It's not as important as the other one, but it's still pretty nice because you are getting immunity, safeguard, and some additional damage. And then we have the basic. The basic also applies bleeds, but depending if you are using her as a rider, striker or skirmisher, you might want to do this T4 or not. Of course, if she's a striker, do the T4. If not, then never mind about it. Okay, speaking of T4s, or speaking of ISO 8, I'm using my Tigra as a skirmisher because right now she's at 4 yellow, 4 red, she's only at ISO 8 blue level 3, so she's very far from being maxed out. On top of that, she's also at gear tier 15, and I'm trying to save gear on this team because while they are important, we don't know how important, and the way this team is going to work in the Green Goblin trials, it all depends on what other players are doing. So, if the other players are not doing a lot, you should not invest on this team. Just wait until the first few days of the Green Goblin trials, see how everyone is doing, and then you decide if you're going to gear up or not. Because I'm trying to not gear up these characters, I'm relying on the skirmisher ISO 8 to give more focus to Tigra, so she can apply those bleeds, the trauma, and so on. But in the future, you should definitely consider her as a striker if you feel it's important. I think because she attacks all targets and rebound chains, I think a striker ISO 8 is going to be a good option for her, even if you have her on defense. Okay, let's move on to the next character, which is going to be Mockingbird. And Mockingbird, she is the healer of the team. And in the past, I really didn't recommend red stars for her. But now, after seeing the Green Goblin trials, the enemies that we're going to be facing, I think her healing is going to be quite important. So let's take a look at her T4s. In Alliance Wars, apply Town to all summon shield assaults. This is going to be great because once again on the Green Goblin trials we have the war tags active. In Alliance Wars, the summon shield medics and shield assault will have 40% more HP and 30% more damage. So once again, it's going to make those minions more tanking, making that taunt more important, and this is going to protect your team from being destroyed by the enemies. So this is a decent T4 for the Green Goblin trials. For Alliance Wars, I don't think it's so important, but for the Green Goblin trials specifically, I think it's going to be very important. With the ultimate of Mockingbird, we have a Summon 1 Shield Medic with defense up and with death proof. Whenever your characters drop below 50% health or something, or when you activate this ability. Okay, so this is great. This allows you to decide when you want to summon the Shield Medic, which is good. And on top of that, in Alliance Wars, apply stealth to the Summon Shield Medic, which is great because this Shield Medic, she feels very squishy. So be careful with that. You really want to be careful when you summon your shield medic, because if she spawns and if she dies right away, it's a huge problem, as you can use the shield medic, for example, to revive one of your characters. So you might want to start with a special rather than the ultimate first. So once again, you can save that shield medic to revive one of your characters. Now we have the special. It's going to increase the damage on multiple targets. It's going to increase the healing for new Avengers. So this is going to be crucial for the Green Goblin trials. And in War, apply immunity to all new Avengers. In War, that means in the Green Goblin trials. So this is going to be very important. It's going to protect you from enemies' negative effects. And this allows the Tigra to also have immunity even after she does the ultimate, and then the special gives her immunity, so you have a balance of having immunity on these characters. Okay, so now we have the basic. The basic will do more healing to Mockingbird, and I'm not sure if it's time to consider using Mockingbird as a striker, because like I said, she's the only healer. She is the only healer on the team that is reliable. The shield medic, we have to save it, and the enemies that we are facing are quite big, so it might be important for you to use Mockingbird as a striker, maybe to do some additional healing with their effects, and this means that the basic will be more important. But make sure to check out the channel when the Green Goblin trials are going, so we can have a final decision if this is going to be important or not, or if it's just better to make Mockingbird healer ISO 8. Okay, so in terms of priorities of the T4s, unfortunately, is pretty much do all the T4s, right? One summons a shield medic, the other one makes the minions more tanking, the other one gives immunity in water, so you have to pretty much do the special ultimate and then the passive, and keep your eyes on the lookout for the basic as well, in case we decide to change our ISO 8. Now, in Cosmic Crucible, in Dark Dimension 6, I recommend this character as a fortifier, so she can spread the minor defense up to everyone on top of the evades. If that's not the case, if you are using her in Alliance Wars, you might use her as a healer if you have her on defense. If you don't have her on defense, you can use her as a skirmisher or as a raider or as a striker. She is very flexible on what she can do in terms of ISO 8, so it's really all about your personal preference and your playstyle. In terms of gear, like I said, just wait to gear up these characters during the Green Goblin trials, see what other people are doing, and then you decide if it's worth it to invest more on them or not, or if 5 stars or 6 stars Green Goblin Legendary, it's good enough. Let's move on to Ronin. In terms of Ronin T4s, on enemy revive, apply blind to them, and additional focus for new Avengers. So, in terms of the revives, we don't have any revive mechanics on the Green Goblin trials, so this is not going to be super important. What's important is the focus. So, unfortunately, you more likely than not are going to be forced into investing on this T4 for Ronin. In terms of the ultimate, applies trauma in Alliance Wars, and that also means in the Green Goblin trials. So I think it's going to be important, right? You are going to apply bleeds and blinds plus trauma. I think this is a must-have T4 that you cannot escape from. Then we have the special. The special does rebound chain, similar to what Tigra does, but we don't have any additional effects. It does piercing damage. The rebound chain goes from 3 targets to 5 targets, so that's a nice increase, and that means more bleeds on each of the targets that you are attacking. So in terms of damage output, the special of Ronin is going to be very important. And then we have the T4 on the basic. When you do the T4, it just increases the piercing damage a little bit, so it's not super relevant. Now, in terms of ISO 8 for Ronin, some people are using him as a raider, some people are using him as a skirmisher, some people are using him as a striker. In my opinion, the striker is going to be the most important, especially for the Green Goblin trials, because he can turn rewind the enemies whenever he does the ISO 8 attack, and this is going to be massive. Controlling the enemies with turn rewind based on that ISO 8 attack is going to be crucial for you to succeed, and this is why we have to decide if Tigra is going to be a skirmisher or a raider or a striker, and even Mockingbird, skirmisher, raider or striker, because we need characters like Agent Coulson and Ronin to turn rewind the enemies. This is why the ISO 8 for the Green Goblin trials are very different from the ISO 8 for the new Avengers on defense or on offense. It's very, very different. Okay, let's move on to the next character. Once again, gear up these characters to gear tier 18, gear tier 15, that's fine, but then 17, 18, just wait for the event to decide. Okay, Agent Coulson. Agent Coulson is actually going to be way more important than we thought, because on node number 10, we are going to use shield characters. And one of those shield characters is going to be Captain America. Yes, Captain America. So we're going to talk a little bit about Captain America as well in this video. And Agent Coulson with the T4 on his passive, fill a speed bar of shield medic by 10% whenever he drops below 50% health. And this is going to allow you to have a chance of reviving your characters in case they die. In Alliance Wars, shield allies and himself are going to get more health. So guess what? Yes, you have to do this T4. This T4 is going to affect only Agent Coulson, Mockingbird, but also Captain America which is, in my opinion, one of the most must-have characters for the Green Goblin trials. Now let's move on to the ultimate. In Alliance Wars, clear all positive effects from the enemy with the highest damage and cause 2 allies guaranteed to assist and attack the enemy with the highest damage. So it's a nice T4. It's not like must-have by any means, but it makes your experience more consistent. So you have to decide if it's going to be important or not. Then we have the special. This T4 clears positive effects on the enemies. The other T4 already does that. The other characters also do that, so I don't think this is an important T4. You can definitely skip it. And then we have the basic, which doesn't do anything, so we're gonna skip that T4 as well. Now, in terms of ISO 8 for Agent Coulson, it's the same like with Ronin. If we need to turn rewind the enemies, then we should use this guy as a striker. Very, very important. He turn rewinds the enemies by 20% if he is a striker. So this is going to be one of the ways that you can win in the Green Goblin trials. It's just by turn rewinding your enemies to the oblivion and making sure that they don't have a turn. If that's not the case, then you can use him as a skirmisher or as a raider to apply more vulnerabilities to your enemies. But like I said, I think it's going to be very important to have him as a striker for the Green Goblin trials. Moving on to the last character. Is it the last character? I'm not sure. We have the Thing. And the Thing, I don't like this character. I don't think he's good. None of the T4s are useful on the Green Goblin trials, so don't do them. The T4 on the passive does more piercing damage with Fantastic Four and New Avengers. This T4 in the past, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, this was important T4 because it was going to give more armor to Fantastic Four and New Avenger allies. It's no longer the case. Now this T4 only does damage, so you can literally skip all the T4s on the Thing. Maybe you can consider doing the special for like some big burst damage attack, but beyond that, I don't recommend any of the T4s on the Thing. In terms of the isolate for the Thing, it just does damage, so it doesn't matter which isolate you use on him. He's kind of slow, so healer or fortifier is gonna be okay, but not super amazing. The striker he does, you are going to consume vulnerabilities that you need to use with Coulson and with Ronin, so I'll probably not do that as well. And maybe skirmisher or raider, I guess, to use the special. I don't know, like this guy is garbage. This guy is so trash. It's really unfortunate that he's part of this team because he definitely ruins the team. Okay, so those are all the new Avengers. But guess what? We're gonna talk about Captain America as well, because Captain America is gonna be a must-have in case you are trying to clear the node number 10 of the Green Goblin trials. So with the T4 on the passive, is going to get down for 2 turns whenever an ally drops below 50% health, is going to get more block amount, and in Alliance Wars is going to get more health. Very, very important, more health in Alliance Wars. You want your Captain America to be as tanky as possible, and this stacks with the passive of Agent Coulson, because Captain America is also a shield character. With his ultimate, is going to get 30% additional 60 is going to get 30% additional speed bar to a maximum of 60%, and that's going to be very important if you have him as a skirmisher, if you have him as a healer, or if you have him as a fortifier, because it's going to allow you to provide more utility to the team, and that's awesome. It's Captain America, guys. Then we have the T4 on the special, clear all negative effects from self and also rebirth allies. Is going to grant more energy, especially if they are rebirth or new Avengers or Avengers. It's not new Avengers, it's just Avengers. And then on the basic, apply offense down for 2 turns to the primary target and secondary targets, and he can chain attack for 3 targets. So I mean, all these T4s on Captain America are important, but hopefully you already geared him up in the past. Is he a character that you should take to gear tier 18 right now? Probably not. Probably not. If you are doing the raids, he does fine at gear tier 16, gear tier 17, depends on the difficulty that you are doing. And in terms of the ISO 8, I like to use him as a skirmisher because of the vulnerabilities that he applies. And like I said, we're going to need tons of vulnerabilities, so Agent Coulson and Ronin can turn rewind the enemies. Other options, healer or fortifier, because of all that speed bar that he's getting from his ultimate. So these are going to be the characters that you need in order to unlock this new legendary, the Green Goblin Classic. And I think this is going to be a very important legendary for many game modes. He's very, very powerful right now in Alliance Wars. He's going to be super powerful as well in Cosmic Crucible, and for sure we'll find use for him in Dark Dimension 6, Avengers Tower and Sword Satellite, which is a place where you can get tons and tons of rewards. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on the recap for the new Avengers in preparation for the Green Goblin trials. And if you did, as always, make sure you share this information and this video with your friends. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe for more Mouse Life Force content, and I will catch you guys later.